Hello. Oh my God, what a day we've had. We were supposed to have 3 trials starting today in the UK. But 2 of them are being moved to different dates, I think, later on in the year. And one trial we're all waiting on. The one trial, which was supposed to start today with the jury selection and all that. Didn't do it. It didn't go ahead. Because at the last minute, Axel Ruda Cubana, and now we can say, who murdered the 3 young girls in Southport and attempted murder of 8 other children plus 2 adults in Southport, pleaded guilty. Wow, that just set X on fire, YouTube on fire, you name it. Oh my God, I can't keep up with all this information that's coming out. So tomorrow I will be doing a live on that at 1 p.m. If you want to see it, please join me. But tonight we're looking at the Oldham, the CSE, that is still happening. And what happened in Oldham with child sexual exploitation. Now when I say CSE, it means child sexual exploitation. If I go blank, if I say blank, then I'm reading a document, something like abuse or abusers, something like that. It's just words that, if I was to keep using them over and over and over again, when reading anything, which I would be, I could get a strike on YouTube, and I can't afford to get another strike. Anyway, so there's reasons behind me blanking out certain words. That's all I will say. I heard yes, it's talking through. So I'm not in my usual place. I'm sitting with my laptop on my sofa, my laptop on my lap tonight, because I want to keep an eye on my little pesky little fur babies. And they know if I'm in my little room, they can get away with blue murder. So I thought, no, I'm comfy on the sofa, I'm warmer here. I haven't got to have 2 sweatshirts on and me fluffy woolly socks and my slippers and anything else on to keep warm. Because my balcony, which is what I call my office, has no heating in. I have got electric heater, but it does not burn up the electric. So don't have it on for long. I'll just put it on maybe for about half an hour or so before I go in. Just take the chill off the room. Maybe click it on again about an hour or so after I've been in there. If I'm feeling cold. But otherwise, it's got no heating in there. It's flipping cold. So I hope my voice is coming through okay. So we've got, it is actually, I'll show you what it is. I'll take it to the phone. I'm going to share it with you. It's the independent assurance review of the effectiveness of multi-agency responses to CSE in Greater Manchester. The review is part 2, so I don't know where part 1 is. The review into historic safeguarding practices in the borough of Oldham. So I've been looking at this. I've been looking at that. And I've been going through it. And I thought, well, don't want to cover the whole document because it's like 100 pages, 199 pages. I And I've got loads of documents on my laptop, which I'm going to be transferring to my USB. Right? And I keep finding more and more documents every day. There's a new someone says something about another document. So I type it, oh, I ain't got that one. I'm downloading it. I'm looking for documents. I love documents. I love reading them. I love to find out what happened, why it happened, how it happened, and why nothing was done about it. So, there's a girl called, oh, what was her name now? I can't remember. Sophie. Right? And we're going to be looking at a lot of what she has to say. I think this is it, yeah. So, it says allegations or concerns expressed in relation to specific cases, including complaints made in a letter by Sophie to the leader of Oldham Council in November 2019. Right, so first of all, you've got that, and then I'm going to play you, let me see, I'll find it. I'm going to play you the video first. It's only 3 minutes long. So I've got so many videos on here from today, and I'm going to have to delete some. This is only 3 minutes long, but I think it's best if you hear it from the victims / survivors. I say victims / survivors because some of these girls look at themselves as victims, and some of them look at themselves as survivors. This
but those who were supposed to protect her didn't. Back in 2006, Sophie
to ask for help. The officers didn't help me at all. They just told me to go home. There was 2 men at the door that offered to take me, and the officers were fine about it, and I was just took.
The men took Sophie from the station and sexually assaulted her in a car, and it only got worse. She then ended up in 2 different houses. Over 24 hours, 8 men attacked her. She was raped multiple times.
It's unimaginable to think that could even happen, but it does. But now all you can do is protect others and stop it from continuing.
This man, Shakil Chowdhury, is the only person to have been jailed for abusing Sophie that night, and she's angry.
If you can't go to your authorities, then who can you go to?
What happened to Sophie has been looked at by an independent review into allegations of child sexual exploitation in Oldham. We have been given a part for its public.
The document says there were significant opportunities missed by children's social care to intervene and put in place appropriate arrangements to protect Sophie. The review goes on to state no one raised concerns about the apparent failure to protect Sophie when she presented herself at the police station. We believe this is evidence of a significant failing by Greater Manchester Police in their treatment of a vulnerable 12-year-old child. And by denying they'd fallen short of their duties to Sophie, the review says both agencies created the impression of a cover-up. The police will apologise to her, and Sky News understands the council will too.
How difficult is it to rebuild that truck?
Means nothing now. You know, they've been found too late. Damage is already done. The people in charge need to go. That's the only way it can be rebuilt, and trust can happen.
Greater Manchester Police said it's not appropriate for them to comment in detail until the review is published, but said this woman has tragically experienced lasting harm as a result of what happened to her and our failure to protect her. We fully intend to express our deepest and most sincere apology directly to her. The date for publishing the Oldham Review has been repeatedly pushed back. It's also looked at other historical allegations of child abuse. Sophie has already waited years for answers. Now she wants action. Becky Cottrell, Sky News.
Right, so that's just one case. I don't know how many in Oldham. I really don't. I know that case and one other, but there's obviously more. Where there's one, there's more. That's my saying. If you find one, you'll find more. So they let her down a big time. So we'll go back to this. Right? And it says, it's quite a bit to read, so bear with me, okay? In Chapter 8, we have set out our conclusions on allegations made in 2019 by an individual complainant, Sophie. I'm sorry about this, my laptop does this sometimes. Goes up and down, don't know why. To the leader of Oldham Council and copied to the Mayor of Greater Manchester. On the 13th of November 2019, Sophie wrote an open letter to Leader B, who was then the leader of Oldham Council. In summary, this letter contained serious allegations that Sophie was subjected to profane CSE and the Oldham Council and Greater Manchester Police failed in their duties to protect her. Sophie also complained that when these shortcomings were raised with both Oldham Council and Greater Manchester Police, they failed to investigate them appropriately and denied any failures on their part. Right. In conclusion, we can confirm in respect of Oldham Council, there were significant opportunities missed by children's social care to intervene and put in place appropriate arrangements to protect Sophie. There were two specific incidents where there is evidence that Sophie was at risk of significant harm. This should have led to a multi-agency strategy meeting and joint police and children's social care investigation. Subsequently, the chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee raised Sophie's case with Oldham Council and asked the council to let them know what steps had been taken to protect her. The council's response was inadequate. A senior manager reviewed the case file and stated in an internal email that there was very little, if anything, to support allegations of failures to protect. The reply to the chair of the Home Office Select Committee stated, you need to read all of this report to understand what I'm reading to you now. You'll be going, really? Really? Well, they're going around with pig's-ish in their eyes, you know what I mean? The social care records have been carefully reviewed by a senior officer and legal services, and we do not consider that there is evidence to substantiate the claims made in Sophie's complaint. Additionally, the complaint is beyond the bounds of what reasonably come within complaints process, both in regards to the passage of time and the litigious nature of the outcome. So, there should be no time limit. Be it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. If you got hard or you got assaulted or you got whatever, you should be able to walk up to any police station and tell them. And they should listen to you. They should take your statement. They should investigate every little everything. Everything. Because this is why they're getting off of it. This is why it's gone on for so long. And it's still going on. We regard this as poor professional judgment by the senior officer and an unacceptable sorry about that. An unacceptable response to both the MP and to Sophie. Given the serious failures to protect Sophie's evidence on the case file, a competent review of Sophie's file would have revealed the numerous warning signs and also that the Council and Greater Manchester Police have failed to follow their own procedures in respect to protecting Sophie. Who was only 12 years old at the time, from the risk of serious harm. If any of you who watch this, listen to this, have got children, I know my daughter at 12. She's still a little girl. You know what I mean? She's still a little girl. Still my baby now. But at least I know she can live in one part of the UK, of Scotland, and I can live in another county. I don't have to have her right by me. I don't have to know everywhere she goes and everything she does. Because she's grown up now, and she's always been, from the age of, I'd say, 14, very grown up. She did grow up, right? And so I've never had to worry about, well, yeah, I have worried about it, don't be, you know what I mean? But I knew she was sensible. There were at least 2 occasions when multi-agency child protection procedures should have been initiated, and if they had, Sophie may have been protected from the predatory males who ended up blanking her. Furthermore, if a strategy discussion, section 47(8), investigation and child protection plan had been put in place, the shortcomings of early interventions would have been scrutinised appropriately, and the decision-making in respect of a serious incident that had occurred at Oldham Police Station reviewed in depth. We have found no evidence that this approach was influenced by Leader A, who was the leader of the council at the time, or any other politician. It is clear from the evidence that the response was led by the senior professional responsible for safeguarding at the time, supported by the council's legal department. Right. I don't see how they can say what she said. We have found no evidence that this was... They're trying to say there's no cover-up by the council. Right? However, I don't see how they can say that, because one of the people who was sent to prison worked for Oldham Council. He was the leader, the head one, for the grooming gang there. Anyway, in conclusion, we can confirm in respect of Greater Manchester Police, this is what we're looking at again, the police, there were serious failures by Greater Manchester Police in its investigation of offender who in 2006 groomed and SE Sophie when she was 12 years old. In our opinion, there was sufficient information available to the officers investigating the series of blank against Sophie in October 2006 to identify offender E as a potential threat to Sophie. We regard this as a missed opportunity. If further action had been taken, it could in all probability have led to the earlier apprehension and conviction of offender E. There were several failures in the subsequent investigation of the multiple R of Sophie. I haven't blocked them out properly, I haven't yet. By several offenders in 2006. We believe there were a number. Oh no, I'm just trying to do this now while I'm here. Just block them out. Because I want to put this up for public. Oh God. Right, so I can't do it if I don't black out certain words, especially if I put it up on YouTube. Right. We believe there is a number of proportionate and reasonable lines of inquiry available based on Sophie's interviews to investigate these offences, while investigating officer asserts that appropriate inquiries were conducted into the CSE of Sophie in a churchyard under blank by two men she alleged to have met. Have I missed these words? Hold on, I'm just putting it. See, I always put the word with it as well, so that you can, if you do want these documents and you do download them off my page, you can see what the word says when you skim over it with your mouse. By the two men she alleged to have met at the police station. We've seen no evidence to enable us to provide assurance that this was done. So, what she's saying, while the investigation officers assert their appropriate inquiries were conducted, they're saying, the police are saying appropriate inquiries were conducted, right? But the report is saying they've seen no evidence to enable them to provide assurance that this was done. So, if they'd done those inquiries, they'd have the reports. Furthermore, Sophie also alleged that when she reported the initial crime of SA at the police station, she was told to come back with an adult when she was not drunk. That is one of the things these predators do. They ply them with drink. They ply them with drink. So if they do go to the police say, I'm making it up, they're just drunk. You know what I mean? She's 12 years old. And she shouldn't be drunk. She shouldn't be drinking. You know what I mean? And why would you send a drunk 12-year-old back out in the streets? Why would you not say, hold on, we'll get a patrol car to take you home? Right? If she had received at that point the appropriate response required to protect her, she would have been spared the ordeal she was subsequently subjected to. The response to Sophie by staff and police on duty at Oldham Police Station was not considered at the time, and in our view it should have been. Although the incident of the R was reported to Oldham Council, I think it's R, yeah. Neither Oldham Council nor Greater Manchester Police initiated a strategy discussion that, as we have said earlier, would have ensured these shortcomings were identified and an adequate protection plan put in place around Sophie. I think I must have missed this page for some reason. Right. In our view, Greater Manchester Police has compounded these failures by presenting a less than candid approach to inquiry by the Chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee in responses to complaints made by Sophie and her husband by a Greater Manchester police professional. She was only 12, so could she have a husband? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't. Responses to complaints made by Sophie and her husband. She was only 12 years old. Unless they're talking about once, like 10 years later now, which is like 22, 24 maybe. In May 2007, a man, offender H, was found guilty and sentenced to 6 years imprisonment for the R of Sophie. During his trial, as part of his mitigation, he named 2 other men involved with the R of Sophie at Address A. This information was not followed up by Greater Man. Why was that not followed up? He's giving a statement and he said, well, I've got 2, here's the names of 2 other guys. Why did they not go and follow that up? That's what annoys me in these cases. This is where they have failed these young girls so much. As I said, we're going back to 2007, 2013, you know what I mean? We consider this to be a further serious failure and was not considered by the Professional Standards Investigation in 2013 or 2018. When we interviewed Sophie in 2022, she was shocked and dismayed that Greater Manchester Police had not pursued these lines of investigation and had not shared this information with her despite 10 years of her seeking answers. So yeah, this was probably when she was 22 by then. She'd been 12, yeah, 10 years later, 22. So yeah, she might have been married by then. The conclusion of the Professional Standards Branch investigation were reported back to Sophie's husband on 16th of July 2013. It concluded that, after reviewing all the information available to me, I am unable to prove that the 2006 investigation contained procedural irregularities. Key evidence was ignored and key lines of inquiry were not followed. This finding is supported by the fact that the investigation resulted in a conviction and the opinion of DCIZ, who has completed review of the 2006 investigation and reports no concerns were identified. It's on December 19, 2019, Oldham Council commissioned independent consultants to undertake an independent review of Sophie's file. They concluded their reviews as follows. There were, in my view, missed opportunities to intervene using child protection procedures throughout the period of intervention. I think that this was particularly the case following the referral from BAC, that's Brook Advisory Centre, in June 2006, and then following referral from the police in November 2006. All of this meant that Sophie and these escalating and linked concerns were never considered as a strategy discussion where there would almost certainly have been more explicit pooling of information and intelligence. This would conceivably, perhaps even probably, have led to more protective action being taken. Offender A, yeah. So they've really, really failed Sophie. They really did. They didn't follow up when that one guy said, I've got the names of these 2 other guys. Like she said, there was 3 of them. Right? Offender A worked. This is it. Listen to all this. Offender A worked for Oldham Council between 1988 and 2006. He was employed as a welfare rights officer in the welfare rights unit at the council, second to the Oldham Pakistani Community Centre. In May 2012, he was found guilty of 2 R's, aiding and abetting R, SA and I don't know how I can say this, and moving her around for the purpose of SE and sentenced to 19 years imprisonment. In June 2012, he was found guilty of 30 charges and was jailed for an additional 22 years. Offender A lived in Oldham and was a member of the Oldham Labour Party. Now you can understand why we don't trust the Labour Party now, because they won't do a national inquiry. They've said no to Oldham, to a national inquiry. Why? No? We believe there are serious failings in how both the Council and Greater Manchester Police investigated concerns in respect of offender A. To avoid the risk of identifying victims of SE through jigsaw identification, we have been unable to set out the full details of his case, but they are contained in the confidential Appendix E. I might have to have a look at that another day. However, we have set out below in a summary form the serious failures we have identified in how the statutory agencies dealt with the allegations against offender A. We emphasise that any conclusion that these investigations were flawed should not be taken to imply any view on the part of the review team about the guilt of offender A in matters not already considered by the court. In summary, these failings were as follows. I think I need some coffee before I continue. Hold on if you want. Now we're going back to 2005. I'm just not going to say Greater Manchester Police because it's just too long. GMP was notified of serious allegation of CSE perpetrated by offender A. While the victim was an adult when she was seen by the police, the force was made aware that offender A also potentially had contact with a young child who lived outside of Oldham. A crime report should have been submitted and updated by the responding officer in parallel with the family support investigation. We have interviewed the detective who explained to the review team that the working practice at the time did not require her to submit a crime report. Greater Manchester Police has confirmed that this was in accordance with their policies at the time, rather than a failure on her part. Notwithstanding this explanation, the National Crime Recording Standard in place at the time required a crime to be recorded. So, Greater Manchester Police are saying that it wasn't their working practice at the time to submit a crime report, right? However, the National Crime Recording Standard in place at the time required a crime to be recorded. So once again, they failed there by not making a crime report. Greater Manchester Police also failed to notify the responsible local authority for the child and to notify Oldham Council as offender A's employer. They didn't even notify the council, as there had been a disclosure that offender A potentially presented a serious risk to children. And we hear all this, like when you have a case of a teacher in a school, and you think, how on earth did he get this job? One, he probably wasn't caught before, so he probably didn't have a criminal record. Two, if he did, they probably didn't do the thorough checks. Right? A bit like what they're doing here. They're not doing the proper checks. Because they didn't tell his employer about his charges. As there had been a disclosure that offender A potentially presented a risk to children, a full assessment should have been undertaken of the risk to the identified child and to any other children offender A might have contact with. A referral to the responsible local authority should have been made, followed by a strategy discussion and Section 47 investigation. Furthermore, it was known by the police that offender A was a council employer and insufficient inquiries were made into whether his role gave him access to vulnerable adults and children. As a welfare rights officer, he would potentially have had contact with a range of vulnerable adults and their children. This matter should therefore have been referred to Oldham Council as his employer. If this had happened, it may have potentially avoided the tragic blank of other children set out later in this section. February 2008, offender I was arrested for SA on a child, and in July of the same year was arrested on suspicion of abduction of 2 other children. Neither of the 2 children made any complaint. No crime was recorded and no further action taken. I don't care if, you know what I mean? If a guy is found to have 2 young children in his car, right, who aren't related to him, who aren't known to him by family friends or something like that, yeah, then he should have sort of like a red tag on his name, by his name, potential risk. The failure to record a crime does appear to be a further breach of the national crime recording standard in place at the time. No crime was reported again. Furthermore, there is no evidence that Greater Manchester Police notified Oldham Council of these allegations. Again, they didn't tell Oldham Council. So they could take an assessment of the risk offender A might potentially present to any children he may have contact with. Why was they not reporting it to his employer? I swear to God, if you've got a plumber, yeah, had a charge of CSE put up against him, yeah, I can assure you the police will be straight onto his employers. But because it's something to do with the council, no, it's all right. We won't tell employers. Cover up again. Sweep it under the carpet. Well, I hate to say this carpet is now not just a little more anthill. It's a fucking mountain high. There's so much crap that has been shoved under this carpet. You can't get no more under there. And we need the national public inquiry to sort this crap out, to identify the perpetrators, to, even if it's only sending them to prison for 6 months, for what? I don't know. Right? Identify the perpetrators, sentence them, send them to jail. They've got it on record then. I don't care if it ruins their life. They've ruined children's lives, so I don't care how it ruins their life. And if they are found to be employed by another firm, that firm then should be held responsible, especially if that firm works with children. They should be held responsible because they should have took the higher checks. There's 3 checks you can do. The first one is a waste of space. It doesn't tell you feck all. It won't tell you nothing, apart from your name, address, and flipping date of birth, maybe. The second one will tell you a little bit more. The third one will tell them of every indictment you've had, every criminal record, or your criminal record will be on it, everything. But it costs a lot more money. So a lot of firms don't do that one. They tend to do the first one, which I think is wrong, especially when it comes to working with children, vulnerable adults. You know what I mean? So, on 22nd of March, offender A was charged with the R of the child first brought to the attention of Greater Manchester Police in 2005. 7 years later, it was brought to the attention of the police in 2005, and it was only 7 years later offender A was charged with the R of and remanded in custody. On the 1st of April, Oldham Council received a notification from the probation service in respect of the offences committed against this child. Given the profound CSE, this should have been a further opportunity to initiate a full assessment of offender A circumstances, but there is no evidence of this happening. No. Again, shoving it under the carpet. Later the same month, Greater Manchester Police requested copies of the files in respect of offender A and his family. The email informed Oldham Council of the second child first identified in 2005 and living outside the Oldham area, with whom offender A may have had close contact, although offender A was now on remand in custody. This significant information should have prompted Oldham Council to commence a multi-agency strategy discussion and assessment of the risks presented to any other children and young people offender A. Exactly. They should have sat in a room and gone, right, where's his files? Where's his work files? Who has he been in contact? What family has he worked with? What children have they got? Let's get this rolling. We need to speak to all the families, all the children. We need to speak to them. No, nothing. So, it's just, you read and you're thinking, really? Offender B received a 9-year prison sentence. He was not an employee of Oldham Council, thank God. But we have reviewed the response of the council to the threat he presented to children as a comparison with the approach. Because he didn't work for the council, they got a response to the threat he presented to children. But if he didn't work for the council, they wouldn't have got that response. It says here, he was not an employee of Oldham Council, but we have reviewed the response of the council to the threat he presented to children as a comparison with the approach the council took to offender A. Yeah. Cover up for offender A. The police alerted Oldham Council of the serious charges in respect of offender B and requested a strategy meeting due to the children living in his household. We have seen no record of this strategy discussion, but a single agency assessment was completed by Children's Social Care. This was not in line with child protection procedures at the time, which required that a Section 47 child protection investigation should have been initiated. So many failings, time and time again. The assessment was very limited in its content and did not consult other professionals involved with the children. The approved supervised contact between offender B and his children. We believe the assessment should have led to a child protection conference and a child protection plan that would have monitored the welfare of offender B's children until the conclusion of his trial. None of that was put in place. We have found these assessments following offender B's discharge to be more robust, but these who have seen should have been placed within the multi-agency child protection framework. So note say those quick to act on offender B, because he didn't work for the council like offender A. In February 2011, offender C was dismissed from his role as a library officer for downloading images on his computer, including pictures of pre-teens during work time. Oldham Council failed to make a referral to the LADO following this discovery, which would have been prudent given his role with vulnerable adults and children. Nonetheless, the information was shared with Greater Manchester Police declined to take further action on the basis that the images viewed were, while concerning, were not illegal. So what they're saying is the children had clothes on. So as long as they've maybe got clothes on, it's not illegal. As soon as Oldham Council became aware of offender C was planning to adopt a child, they appropriately notified senior managers at the adoption agency, Bury Council. A subsequent child protection investigation undertaken by Bury Council led to offender C being convicted of accessing serious images of C child porn. Although our judgment is that it would have been prudent for Oldham Council to have notified the LADO at the time of the first incident, the review team believed that subsequent actions were appropriate. Offender D was not an employee of Oldham Council, but he was elected to the Oldham Youth Council in 2012. In 2015, he was charged with serious SO and sentenced to 2 years in youth custody, which meant he was under 18 then. Yeah, you'd have to be under 18 to get youth custody. 2 years. He's back out in the streets, he's back out on the laptop, he's back out doing whatever he wants. We have concluded that the required strategy is I can't go into all that. Councillor Y. Councillor Y was questioned by the police in June 2007 on allegations of R of a young woman. The case was presented to the Crown Prosecution Service, which decided not to charge Councillor Y. Oh, I wonder why that was. Oh yeah, he's a councillor, part of the government. Councillor Y has consistently denied the offence. We emphasise that any conclusion that the subsequent safeguarding investigations were flawed should not be taken to imply any view on the part of the team about the guilt of Councillor Y. Oh, I don't. I just say it's because he's part of the Labour, part of the council. Councillor T, another councillor. These allegations were brought forward by a fellow councillor, Councillor Z. Councillor T has consistently and emphatically denied these allegations, which have been investigated by Greater Manchester Police on 2 occasions. The first investigation was conducted in 2015. The investigation was reopened in 2020 following a safeguarding referral from the Labour Party. Given the shortcomings in the first investigation, Greater Manchester Police conducted a second investigation. Both investigations by Greater Manchester Police resulted in a decision to take no further action against Councillor T. We should know by now, you work for the council, you can get away with anything, especially if you work for the Labour. We believe those failings in how both the council and Greater Manchester Police investigated these allegations in 2015. For legal reasons, we have been unable to set out the details of these failures, but they are contained in the confidential Appendix E. It's just, I'm not joking, you've got to read the whole document. I'm only reading you a short clipping, right? Because it's 109, this one is 199 pages. This one document is 199 pages, right? And I tried to put it on my Discord, but the file's too big, and to put it on my Discord, I need to upgrade. And I'm not paying up to upgrade on Discord. I don't really use it that much, so I'm not paying for something I hardly use. So what I'll do is I'll take screenshots of things that I do think are important, and I'll probably put them up on Discord and things like that. So I could probably do it as screenshots, just little sections, and put it up on Discord, or even on my X account, which is now my new. I've got two X accounts. One, Protect Our Children, which is for this one, and then there's the other one, which is Crime and Justice, which is for my other channel. Right, so we've got all that, and then we come along. I'd just like to say hello, thank you for those on X for being here. Hopefully at the end of the month I'll be able to go live on my other X account. So I've got to sort a few things out, because the things I'm paying for I'm not using. I've got to be paying at least £30 out a month for things I'm not using. So I'm going to go through all my apps that I use and all the apps that I don't use, and then cancel those that I don't use. So, and my son was like, I talked to my son, I said, yeah, I pay for X. He said, do you pay for X? I said, yeah. I said, that way I don't get the adverts. Plus I can go live. And I can put longer comments up. So, I've got a couple more interviews. There's so much in that file. I will clip it and I'll put it on my X account. And I'll sit there afterwards and I'll put it on my X account. Right. Leslie Rock. Oh my God, you've got to listen to this. I'll find it first before I say. Right, I'll find it first. Right. Right. You've got to watch this. Because, oh, I just want to slap this woman. Oh, I want to slap this woman. This was done, obviously, a few years ago, I believe. I'm not sure. But listen to what she says. I'll see if I can get the volume up any higher. What's that? I can't remember. Yeah, I can't get any higher there. Can I get any higher here? No. Right, volume is at the highest, okay?
Publication of that report 2 weeks ago, I spoke to a number of victims, and they came forward and ran me that week. The victims that were referenced in the report, but also other victims of CSE in Oldham, and speaking to those people and how it has affected their lives, and they were. You can't say it's destroyed their lives, because the people I spoke to, it hasn't, but it has had an impact into adulthood.
How can she downplay the destruction caused by grooming gangs? The victims' lives have been shattered, and she's trying to sweep it under the rug.
Do you know what I mean? Well, it hasn't ruined their lives. What? Ooh, slap. Give me a slap, right? How can people say that? How can anyone stand there and say, see a child of SE or child of SI, right? It has not ruined their lives, right? A child who has been groomed, a child who is being exploited. And don't forget, exploitation comes with the criminal side of it as well. They get these people, these men, groom them, and they get them so into their confidence, and then they get them so hooked up with them that they get them to do criminal acts like burglaries, thieving, and all that lot. So that then they can turn around and say, well, you won't report us, because if you report us, you're dropping yourself in it. So they got them exploitation, criminal exploitation, sexual exploitation, and they also exploit these young girls into criminality by putting them as, they're not out on the streets, but they're in houses, but they're marking them as ladies of the night. It's the nicest way I can put it, if you know what I mean. So that's a crime in its own, right? You get arrested if you're out in the streets. You can get arrested for doing it. You're walking the streets, and someone pulls up. How much? You know what I mean? And they've got them doing that in houses. So they get them everywhere they can. So for her to say that I just want it, I thought, just stand in front of me, love, so I can knock your head off my shoulders. I would have knocked. If I'd been in the gallery, I think I'd have jumped down from the gallery and knocked her head off her shoulders. Because what she said was disgusting. Now, listen to what I believe this is the same woman. Right? Believe it's the same woman. I'm not sure. Looks like it. So, we're going to listen to this. And I'll point out afterwards what I think.
All the victims of CSE that are referenced in this report. I particularly want to apologise to Sophie. I would never pretend to be able to fully understand what she went through, but it is clear that the council and the police failed in our duty of care towards her, both when she was a child and through our subsequent responses to her as an adult, and for that I am truly sorry. I will be writing to all the victims in this report to offer an apology and to meet in person if they wish to discuss their experiences and learn how we can improve further. It's clear at the time the council and the police did not understand enough about this horrendous crime and how best to support and protect its victims. Much has changed since then. We've learnt from similar reports and reviews elsewhere in the country, from changes to national guidance and from best practice, and the way we deal with victims of this terrible abuse is now completely different. The report findings show that from 2011, the Council was trying hard to tackle CSE and improve the way that we do things. In 2019, when Oldham Council asked for this review to take place, this was in response to local concerns and around how the Council and the police had historically tackled CSE in Oldham. Central to those concerns was the allegation that there was a cover-up between Oldham Council and Greater Manchester Police and that we actively hid this dreadful abuse. And that in fact the council was working hard to address it. It also very clearly highlights that senior councillors and officers were claiming their drive to improve social care. The council knew that CSE and grooming were a growing area of concern. A dedicated team of social workers working together with the police was set up in response to this. We were one of the first councils in the country to build this into a multi-agency safeguarding hub these crimes may have been committed. But the powers we had to work with was also not strong enough to
Yeah, right. Must have a criminal record check. Is that just a basic criminal record check? A CRC? Or is it the second level or the third level? Because the basic CRC won't show you feck all if they've not been caught. Won't show you nothing. It's a waste of time doing that, having that one. It tells them nothing unless you've been
in 2014.
Unless you've been caught.
Ofsted held Oldham Council.
Unless you've been caught by police and took to court and found guilty, it will not show anything. Even if they're not sent to prison, even if they've got a fine but been found guilty, it will not show. It will not show unless that is on there. So the CRC does nothing.
As an example of leading the field in Greater Manchester for tackling CSE. We even developed a play that told schools called Somebody's Daughter, Somebody's Sister, which was shown to thousands of school children to teach them about the dangers of CSE and grooming. We didn't shy away from this issue, and we don't shy away from it today. The report recognises much of this work, but it does state that the political drive to improve did not always translate into good practice on the ground. Over the course of 2011 to 2014, over 11,000 referrals were made into Oldham Children's social care. The vast majority of those children received the support they needed and were kept safe. The report references some of the commendable work of our social workers in children's home, but it is clear that this wasn't true for all children, and one child let down is one child too many. It is absolutely imperative that our residents have confidence in those people that work to protect our children. Our social workers today do an unbelievable job in some very challenging circumstances.
I'll tell you something. Up in Scotland, social workers up here do a lot better job than they do down in England. A lot better job. Right, the hospitals report anything from a little twist of a wrist or a twisted ankle. If a child goes to hospital with anything like that and it looks suspicious, they report it to social services. And social services, They will not let you leave that hospital until social services are being and spoke to you. They will not let you leave that hospital.
Circumstances with some very vulnerable people. But we have to be honest about the challenges they face, and these are challenges faced by social workers up and down the country, not just in Oldham. Our number one job is keeping children safe, but the scale of that task is immense. We have more children in need of social care today than ever before. To use an example, if you think of the Etihad Stadium, the children of Oldham will more than fill all of the stands of that stadium. We have 59,000 children and young people in Oldham. And those that...
Right, let's look at the reasons why we have more children under social services today. Right? You've got parents who are being essayed while as children. Right? They've got pregnant during that time. They've had no help or support. They weren't believed. They've turned to drugs. They've turned to alcohol. You know what I mean? The pain of it is, right? So then the children are suffering. So then social services step in, right? Or you've got children growing up in a home with DV, domestic violence. And so social services are called in then. So you've got all these illegal immigrants coming into our country, undocumented, unchecked, and roaming our streets. And you wonder why social services have got more on their plate than ever before. And I believe this was done in 2022. So you imagine what it's like today with all the illegal immigrants, all the illegal Pakistanis, all the children that have been essayed, grown up, had children. You know what I mean? It's this never-ending circle for these women and these families. Never ending.
And currently looked after and open to social care would fill the whole of the away end. That is 3,100 children that currently suffering are at risk of abuse or neglect. We currently have over 600 referrals into social care each month, and our social workers work day and night to improve the lives of these children. I want to reassure people that we have not stood still, be it from 2006, 2011, 2014 or 2019 when this review was launched. Changes have already been made due to the work we've done ourselves, updates in national guidance and best practice, and findings from other reviews that have been...
2000, what did she say? 2006? Let's just go back.
...of abuse or neglect. We currently have over 600 referrals into social care each month, and our social workers work day and night to improve the lives of these children. I want to reassure people that we have not stood still, be it from 2006, 2011, 2014 or 2019.
Okay, so what happened in 2012? Yeah? We could give you names of victims that have been failed within that time limit, love. So don't tell me they've not stood still. They have failed. You have failed them. Social services, child protection, police, the government, teachers, doctors.
When this review was launched. Changes have already been made due to the work we've done ourselves, updates in national guidance and best practice, and findings from other reviews that have been carried out in towns and cities up and down the country. The way we work today is different and it's improved. to how the council worked then, and these improvements have been recognised by Ofsted and others. The messenger service highlighted in the report was replaced in 2014, and the team have since moved into what we call our complex safeguarding hub. That team sits within Greater Manchester Police to ensure we're fully coordinated and can quickly act on all information we're given. We now have dedicated training officers for schools to teach young people about the signs of abuse and how to report them, with thousands of Oldham students undergoing these sessions last year.
It's all right, teaching them how to report them, but if you're not going to be listened to, then what's the fucking point? Do not scan. Oh, this woman is just getting me so mad. Right, we know this was done. That was done in 2022. We're now in 2025. In 2024, Oldham asked for a public inquiry. In 2024, 2 years later, love. So what happened? In those 2 years from 2022, and you said, "Oh, we've signed this, we've done this." What happened? Oh, I know. You haven't been listening to the children again. You've been ignoring the children. Right? You're too scared of being called racist. Well, if I'm racist, I was called a racist once. And I'm not joking. I nearly kicked this out of the person. Because I haven't got one racist bone in my body. I really haven't. Right? I just feel if you live in this country, respect our laws, respect our culture, and it will be fine. You break our laws, if you don't like our culture and you break our laws, then that is when the trouble comes in. And I don't care if you're pink, black, blue or polka dot. I really don't care. Right? If you break our laws and you disrespect our culture, then you deserve to get punished. And not just a, oh, slap on the hand, don't do it again. We've had people sent to prison last summer. Right? For saying hurty words on X or whatever, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, being sent to prison for 2 years, and yet you've got people like these who are going around abusing our children, flaunting it in the face of police who are just standing there watching it go down. You make me sick. Nothing has changed since 2022, love. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been asked. Oldham would not have been asking for an independent public inquiry led by the government, something like that. And we've all said, no, we don't want an independent one, we want a national one. Because it's not just 5 towns or 5 cities, it's 50 plus towns and cities across the UK. And guess what? They are all Labour-held seats that we are looking at. All Labour-held. And that's why Labour won't do anything, because they rely on these minority groups for their votes. That's why they're not stopping these illegals to come in, because once they get the right to vote, they'll be voting for them. Why do you think they released all those prisoners last year? What were they all saying when they come out? Oh, thanks, Labour. You've got our vote next time. Because while they're in prison, they can't vote. So Labour let them out. So now they've got all these nice people out there, get out of prison, going to vote for them. Well, not all of them, because some of them have been recalled. But don't tell me you've got no problems in Oldham. Don't. No, don't. Right. I've got another one here. Right. This is another video. This is, she calls herself the mother of a grooming gang victim. But she isn't really her mother, but she's like an adopted mother. And the young girl calls her mom, and she calls her daughter and all that lot. So listen to what this... let's get back to it. Okay. What they have to say. I'll speed this up just a little bit because...
You wound up getting an ASBO. What did they say you'd done to deserve that ASBO?
Hiya, Mark. Lovely to see you. They said that I'd over the barrier. They said I'd thrown a missile. They said I had swore abusive language to the council leader. I didn't do any of those things at all. They said I disrupted the meeting. They've done a list of all sorts, really, which is all untrue.
And so they basically complained that you were swearing at the council leader.
Yeah, I won't repeat what they've said, I've said, because, you know, it's before the 9 o'clock watch. But I didn't say it because I don't say it. But there's my antisocial behaviour. Verbal abuse, there you are, verbal abuse. Apparently, I threatened a journalist. There's all sorts that they threaten. Throwing a missile. I didn't throw a missile, Mark.
It's very weird that this council, which did nothing about the rape gangs in Oldham year in, year out, but suddenly it gets very upset if at a council meeting citizens come and complain about the inaction of Oldham Council, and you guys, they're far more eager to punish you than they are to punish the gang rapists.
Yeah, they are. They've done a number of things to residents in the Oldham community. They've sent antisocial behaviour threatening letters to everybody. They've actually breached my data as well regarding my passport. What they've done is I've been trying to support Sam. Sam is I've adopted Sam. I'm not a biological mother. I am a mother she's adopted me and I've adopted her. As far as I'm concerned, she's my daughter and I'm a mother, so she gets a bollocking when she needs one. But Sam is a beautiful girl, and the way that they've treated her has been absolutely appalling. When I first found the council leader at the time, Sean Fielding, wanted to call it all barefaced lies. It was all barefaced lies, but yet, yes, grooming has been going on in Oldham, and it's still happening in Oldham. So you've got two council leaders, both Labour, one saying it's all barefaced lies and calling all the residents barefaced liars, and the other one saying, oh, I'm sorry, yes, it is happening. Now this council leader is sending ASBOs to anybody that wants to disagree with anything that they said.
Samantha was eager to speak to the people who were conducting the inquiry that the report came out last month. She was keen to speak to them. The council actively obstructed her participation in that inquiry. Why would they do that?
Well, they didn't want the truth getting out there because they massively failed Samantha. Sam desperately wanted to speak to Malcolm Newsom and Gary Ridgway, and I, as a mum, I contacted Maggie Oliver. And Foundation, Maggie Oliver Foundation, and that was the only way that we could actually get Sam in to do her interview. But then when she did do her interview, we do have a recording of Gary Ridgway then stating that the council didn't want Sam to be interviewed. They pushed against it really, really hard. They said that she would have committed suicide. And if she had been interviewed, she would have committed suicide. She's a really, really strong girl now. She's absolutely fantastic. But they did Gerard Jones, the executive for Children's Services at Oldham Council, when Brian Orbin actually asked him in a full council meeting not so long ago, he face slide in front of everybody and said, nobody stops Sam, but we've got Gary Ridgway, we have a recording of Gary Ridgway stating that, plus it's in the plus, it's in the review.
Why do you think that Oldham Council seems far keener on protecting these gang rapists than actually?
See, I haven't got that far into that review that they're talking about. I've only got so far something like page 40 something, 40 or 60, and there's 199 pages. So we're bound to be coming back to this Oldham again, because it's Oldham that has literally, boom, opened all this child grooming up again, because they have asked for a public inquiry led by government, and then Jess Phillips, the Undersecretary or whatever to safeguarding for children or whatever her position is, said no. Boom. That opened it all back up again, and because of that, Elon Musk got involved. And I thought, you know what, I've got my platform now. I didn't have my platform when this was first being spoken about. Right? When I first heard about it all them years ago, I didn't have this YouTube platform. So, sugar. Right up in there. It's alright, I went back.
She's a really, really strong girl now. She's absolutely fantastic. But they did their utmost. Executive for Children's Services at Oldham Council, when Brian Orbin actually asked him in a full council meeting not so long ago, he bare-faced lied in front of everybody and said, nobody stops Sam, but we've got Gary Ridgway, we have a recording of Gary Ridgway stating that, plus it's in the plus. It's in the review.
Why do you think that Oldham Council seems far keener on protecting these gang rapists than actually doing anything for the girls of Oldham?
I think that boils down to the Labour vote. I think it's a political thing. Because in Oldham, a lot of Labour supporters are from the Muslim community. So to keep them voting for them, I think that's why they protected them. I think that's why it has been a political thing. Jim McMahon, who's the MP for Oldham Royal West, has been seen at the mob, thanking them all for the votes.
Yeah, there's a lot of connections between the councillors and people who were involved in these red gangs, including the guy who ran the red gangs was actually employed by the council. As we know, these useless policemen seem very friendly to them. You said your daughter was strong. After what she went through that night when she was 12 years old, you're either strong or you're utterly destroyed by it. And fortunately, Samantha seems to have had the strength to overcome it. But the fact is that only 2 of the men who raped her that night have actually paid any price for it. So there's still something like 6 or 7 of them out there. As I understand it from Oldham, these are networks, and the identities of these men are not unknown. Don't you think it's disgraceful that Oldham Council and Greater Manchester Police can only find basically a fifth of the men who raped your daughter?
It's absolutely appalling, Mark. It's absolutely appalling what they've done. The police knew. The police identified one of them that went into the police station and actually walked out of the police station with Sam. They also identified the other 2 that was in the car. They also arrested one and then let him out on bail, and he's done a runner. And that's 4 or 5 that I know of. And there are more. And the police do know. One of the perpetrators, his wife, went to the police station and actually said, "My husband has confessed to raping this child." This guy actually tried to murder his wife. They've not dealt with that at all. The police, they just don't want to. They've just not dealt with it at all.
Do you think Greater Manchester Police and the council we used to have the presumption that that people were so revolted by paedophilia. You don't want to be a paedophile in an English prison, supposedly, because all the other prisoners will do terrible things to you because everyone is revolted by paedophilia. In Oldham, nobody who matters seems to be revolted by paedophilia. The councillors are friends with the paedophiles. The policemen are friends with the paedophiles. The social workers are friends with the paedophiles. What's up with that?
The council workers were paedophiles. You had Shabir Ahmed that worked for all the council. He was a member of the Labour Party, and he was a paedophile. You also have the Lib Dems Rob Black, who was a convicted paedophile for the Lib Dems. That wasn't reported to the residents of Oldham either. They have kept, Oldham Council have kept so much hidden. And
you know what I mean? This is why the people of Oldham don't trust Oldham Council doing their own public inquiry. They don't trust them. It's just going to be another whitewash. And to be honest with you, they say, well, instead of having another inquiry, we're just going to put into place all those recommendations that was said to be right in that one report that I was reading. Remember, there's 20-odd recommendations. That report was finished in 2022. It took 7 years. Report and finished in 2022. We're now in 2025, and they're just going to start doing the acting on it now, 3 years later. Why? They're only saying they're acting on it now because Oldham put in for that public inquiry led by the government. That's the only reason they are saying, well, we're going to implement all these recommendations. I know they can't be done overnight, but this is just ridiculous now. Why can't they implement these recommendations? Plus, why? Because them recommendations are only are based on 5 cities, and they're based on cities where grooming gangs was not really known for. Right? They didn't go to cities like Telford, Birmingham, places up north. What about Blackpool? I'm sure it happens at Blackpool. Places like that. They have not done any reports on places like that. And it does. So it needs a national government-led inquiry. Public government-led inquiry. As well as implicating those recommendations, also do the inquiry. Why can't they do the both of them together?
the only thing I can think of that this is a political thing that they're doing it, and they are protecting the politicians, and it has to go straight to, it has to go all the way to the top. When Sam asked for her information by a gentleman from the Home Select Committee, Keith Baz, he wrote to Jim McMahon. He was the council leader at the time. He said, "There's nothing to see here. It's a passage in time, so we can't look into it." This is a child. This is a 12-year-old little girl who was just hanging about with the mates in a church grounds, and she was molested. And then she went to the police station, did the right thing, and all that happened.
Now, I would like to know. I would like to know who that desk officer was, because none of these policemen have paid a price with the failures of Greater Manchester Police. All these people are either still employed by the constabulary, or they're enjoying their lavish pensions, completely disconnected from the hell that they have caused your daughter and all these other girls. It's quite shameful. You're actually you've had a backlash, and you've had I gather you've had death threats after this council meeting, and you've now actually had to move, and you're in an undisclosed location.
That's right, Matt. Yeah. After I went up to the council chambers to ask a question, I exposed about the council leader, Ruth Shah, was hanging about with a convicted heroin dealer. And because of that, the backlash has been that I've had threats of kidnap and rape. So I had to speak to my family, and I had to flee the town.
Yeah, this was done in 2022 as well. Right? So I should imagine after doing this, she's had to move again.
I then received a message again. I hope you're enjoying where you are. I was in Sunset at the time. And unfortunately, because I got that message from that person that instigated all of that, I've had to relocate again. So even after my family, I don't even know where I am.
That's a terrible thing. You're basically living in hiding because you wanted the truth of what happened to your daughter to be known, and you wanted Oldham Council to do something about it. This is a very corrupt town, Oldham. And there's too many of them. As you know, we talked about Telford and we talked about Rotherham, but this is going on and they always say, well, the report comes out, well, lessons have been learned. This is all a long, long time ago now, and we've changed everything. They haven't changed at all. We're going to have to go to Oldham and do some reporting on what's going on there. But thank you very much, Debbie, and you take care.
Right? It hasn't changed. We're now in 2025, and it is still happening. Because the government, the police, they don't want to be known as racist. You're not racist for speaking out and protecting young girls, because it's not just white girls. There's other young Sikhs girls, and what's the other one? There's all sorts, right? They are being exploited as well by these Pakistani gangs. So, and I was watching something the last week about a young girl down on a sea coast somewhere. I think it may have been Blackpool. Yeah, it was Blackpool. Who's gone missing. She's been missing for years now. And the last place she was seen was in this driveway, gullyway sort of thing, behind the back of these shops, which led then to some flats above the shops. And that was the last place she was seen. So that was years ago. But what I'm trying to say is what happened then is still happening now in 2025. And it will keep happening because those cases back then in 2020, in 2021, where the Pakistani fathers were getting their sons to abuse these young girls as well. So then their sons are now growing up. Oh, that's okay to abuse these young girls. So they're now carrying it on. It's sickening to think what is going on. And the fact that Jess Phillips will not open up an investigation, government-led, government-run investigation, because if it's run by the government, they've got more resources. They can call in witnesses to give testimony in court, and you can't say no to it. They can call police in, they can call the government, council leaders, everyone. They can pull up all the documents about all these predators. They can get a lot more information on a national-led government inquiry than they can on a public inquiry. And most of the time, people don't want to be involved in public inquiries because they know all it gets them is recommendations, and then the council never act on these recommendations. Never act on these recommendations. Right, tomorrow we'll be looking at this is a short one tonight. Tomorrow we're looking at the Southport murders. We can now say murders without having to say allegedly, because what's his name? Oh, I can't never. I know his name, but I can never. Axel Ruda Cubana went into court today to start his trial, to start getting the witnesses, the jury, and pleaded guilty. Like that. Took everyone by surprise. So today I've been going through, getting information, pulling up information about what the teachers have said, these people in the school have said, about how he was under investigation. He had been on the watch list, and again, because they didn't do nothing, they failed. This lad we're talking about, Axel, right? He was planning on doing the first mass murder, school mass murder or mass shooting or something like that at his high school. It would have been the first one. It wouldn't be the first one for Scotland, because we've had them up in Scotland where they've gone into schools and shot up schools. So it wouldn't be the first one in Scotland, but I think it might be the first, would have been the first one in England. But his father stopped him. Stopped him. And I believe this was, 2 weeks or so before the murders of these 3 precious young girls. But we're going to be talking about that tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. I'll be on, because I'm live again tomorrow night, but I'm talking about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers tomorrow. What news come out? So I've got 2 lives on tomorrow. One about Axel Ruda Cubana, right? And the second one is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. So again, if you've been here, if you got through to the end, thank you for being here. Please give me a like. Leave me a comment. How do you feel about all these places where they've failed the children? What's your views on it? You know what I mean? What's your opinion? And I will be back tomorrow. Please show some love on X. If you're on YouTube, please like this video. Please share it. Please comment. As I said, I hope you've heard, and I hope the sounds come through okay, because I've not been on my normal mic. I've been using the mic off the laptop because I'm sitting on the sofa. So I will see you all tomorrow, and till then, stay safe. Just pop this up again so that people can see. You must be 18 plus. Everything said is, in my opinion, entertainment only. Please do your own checks. Right. Till tomorrow, stay safe, and thank you all for being here.